name is Michael Bosey. Welcome to Marketing Without the Marketing. This is episode 97 of this podcast, and I am glad that you chose this podcast to listen to today. Hope that you get something out of it. Today's topic, I'd like to jump right in, is consistency. Consistency in content strategy is incredibly difficult to achieve. And it's something I'm constantly urging my clients, my students, and all of you podcast listeners as well to do, but it's very challenging. But it's absolutely critical to running a good content strategy. And here's why. Consumer behavior is different now. And in running my own content strategy and the content strategy for my clients too, I've learned a lot about just business in general, right? The same principles apply from content strategy to business in general. And this is not at all surprising, right? Since content strategy is about marshaling resources, working towards an outcome, and of course, being efficient about it. Now, picking up where I left off last week was about being in it for the long game, right? Forget those short-term gains. It makes you make bad decisions. Get into a service mindset, or what I call the service disposition, and do everything you can to serve your audience. And you do it long enough and you'll earn the right for some of that audience to become actual paying customers. But that brings us to the central point of this episode, which is consistency. How many times have people come to me and said, Michael, we've tried content marketing and it just didn't work for us. We did a blog or we're on social media, et cetera, But you pick at this a little and you see what the problem is. And it always comes in two varieties to me, or at least that's been my observation. Either you weren't patient or you weren't consistent, right? Let's look at the patient facet first, right? How many blogs did you publish? People tend to give up after a very few posts. 3, 4, 6, 10 posts. Look, that's not going to get you anywhere. You can't just expect for this strategy to pay off publishing, that amount of content. And don't get me wrong, sometimes a business only needs a half dozen pieces of what I call cornerstone content, those types of pieces that you'll go back to again and again. But look, publishing 10 posts is not going to be enough to build an audience. I actually had one client who I was doing some ghostwriting on, a corporate blog, wrote the first post, launched the blog, thought that we did a great job, was all this client's ideas, but I helped write it, fashion it, present it, was really proud of it. He calls me up 9 days later and says, Mike, I don't think this is working. And I'm like, okay, you're killing me. It's been 9 days. One post. Like, did you think that people were just going to flock to a brand new site and a brand new blog? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? And this is people's impression. It's hard to break. I don't mean any disrespect here, but you can't have that expectation going into this. You've got to think that, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be in it for the long game, and I'm going to get consistent about it. And, for some context, it took me about 200 blog posts before I saw any evidence of true organic growth. This podcast that you're listening to, it took about 60 episodes to start to see some organic growth, where I started to see a little bit of evidence of that. And then probably it wasn't until about 75 or 80 episodes to really get cranking. It takes time. Hence the long game, right? But back to the whole point of this episode, if you weren't getting results, you probably weren't being consistent about it. Publish, 2 pieces one week, then not again for another month or the rest of this quarter. I mean, you'll never gain momentum that way. And if you're setting out to produce something of value, which is the whole goal here, right? You'll get people who are interested. You will. But one and done ain't going to cut it, right? You might get lucky and write that one breakout piece. I've seen it happen. But to me, and this is always my mindset, is head down and just do the work, and you got a better shot at just, at this, just showing up week by week consistently and having people come to expect it from you. And even just that, pause on that point for just a second, just showing up says a lot about you too, right? Remember, the whole goal here is that you're building trust. And that's trust in the quality of the content that you produce, right? The quality of your expertise, but it's also the trust in your reliability too, right? You want to be seen as reliable when it's actually time to hire you, or when somebody's going to hire your product to solve an issue for them, right? You want to be seen as the logical go-to. And trust is the only path to that outcome. I really believe that. And consistency helps, right? Because, people see you as reliable, right? If they're going to hire you for this, reliability is a pretty important thing, right? You would think of that when you try to hire someone to be an employee, right? Why wouldn't you think of that the same thing when someone's trying to hire you as a company, a product, a service to help them solve an issue? Now, for me, I always try to, live what I teach here. And with this podcast, I publish almost every Monday, with the exception of holidays or, especially days of remembrance and the occasional week off when I'm super heavy with client work. I mean, we all have those weeks, and, you can't put too much pressure on yourself when you're in this type of thing, right? But I know that you in my audience, you understand, right? I'm just one person doing this podcast. I don't get paid for it. I do it because I love to do it. I love to help. But, when I take a week off, I mean, I hope that people miss me, but I also know that no one's going to think less of me for it. I do what I can. That's what you do as well, right? But there's one other layer to this too, which is getting the nuances right. You can be consistent, produce over and over, do so consistently, right? But if the flavor of your work leans towards, me, or sell, forget it. No one cares, and no one's going to ever care about that type of thing. If you produce something, look, your job is to either help me, inspire me, educate me, entertain me, whatever. Do that and do it quick, or I'm gone. And sorry, those are the rules, right? I didn't make these rules up. We're all out here competing for something that's incredibly scarce: the attention of an audience. There's so much content out there to consume, and we make choices, right? That's why it's an absolute honor that you spend some of your time and attention on me each week. I really mean that. And at the risk of squandering that attention, here's 30 seconds of something that I hope will be helpful. I'm offering a 50% discount on my new online course that teaches content marketing for creatives. It's called Create Biz, and it's a complete online course with 42 video modules, dozens of worksheets, templates, guided assignments to help writers, musicians, and visual artists get focused and efficient in building an online audience. To get the 50% discount, use this special link, createbiz.com/MWM for marketing, without the marketing. And I left a link in the show notes to make it easy for you. Okay, so I don't mean to, be discouraging that you have to produce 200 blog posts or 100 podcast episodes, but if you're in the situation where you're either just starting or, considering content marketing for your business, I want this to be a gut check for you. Do you have the stamina to get really consistent, to go for it long term? You're going to have to love the process, or at least love the fact that you're serving your audience. You're going to have to be okay with the fact that this whole content marketing thing runs counter to so many of the things that you and I were taught about business, right? I mean, look, that's the whole point of this series after all. But here's the thing, this stuff works. I've seen it over and over again in my own strategy. Like I said, I live what I teach, but I've also seen it in the impact on my clients, right? Deep, organic growth. And sometimes as much as, seriously, 10x growth over an 18-month period. It might seem like a long period, but 10x the growth, traffic, revenue, all that. I mean, yeah, that might take 18 months, but can you imagine if your business was 10x what it was today? You take that, right? And all other things being equal, to me, the only way that you get there is through consistency. And this is why I say that you have to love it. You got to do it for the right reasons. You want to help. I mean, that's how I feel about it. And look, I put this podcast out there. If someone chooses to ignore it, to me, they're ignoring free help. Same thing for you. You write a great blog post. Let people come to you. If they don't, look, we're not going to beg for attention, right? You in the audience, you'll come back when you're ready to hear it. And if not, look, it's your loss, right? That's the way that you have to think of this. Don't get upset when you have those down weeks. We all have them. Where's my audience? Where'd they go? Where are they? How come I don't have quite the data that I do this week? It'll come back, but you got to stay consistent about it. You'll go through ruts, and it's going to come storming back. And this is going to happen multiple times if you do this long enough. It's just the way that it works. And you have to adopt this mindset here too. I will help anyone who will listen. It's kind of a cool thing, right? So anyone who's going to show up, I'll help you. Now, of course, the internet allows you to do this at scale because, if it was helping you one-on-one, I can't do that. That's, that doesn't scale. But if I can do a podcast, or you can do a blog, or you can do a podcast or a set of videos or whatever, and now all of a sudden you can help one to many. And when people start showing up to read, to listen, to watch one by one until it's a crowd, it's awesome, right? They give you encouragement. They give you feedback. They help make your work better. They provide you with really what amounts to free market research too. They give you ideas. And if you're doing it right and you do it long enough and with the right spirit, they actually give you the gift of bringing more people to you, adding to that gathering crowd. And this right here, this is what you do for me too, which is why I'm always so grateful to you. I respect you enough to come back if you want to. I'm not always begging for you to subscribe or for you to leave me a rating or a review on iTunes. You'll do that if you want to. And this is exactly what you need to do as well, right? Just deliver value, get really consistent about it, and trust the process. It works. It's just going to take time, and that's about all, right? Well, of course, your creativity, your energy, all the things that make you, you. That and some time. All right. You guys are the best. Thank you for listening. This concludes the first unit of this 16-part series. The first segments were under the heading The New Business Mindset, and the next unit in this series is going to be called The New Marketing and Sales, and I think I've got, about 5 episodes planned for that. And that's going to focus on what you do with these principles that I've been discussing, but how to apply them to your outreach strategy. And I haven't decided if I'm going to start on that right away next week or break off to cover another couple topics in between. I'm not sure, but I guess I'll keep you in suspense. But forecasting the rest of the series, while the new marketing and sales is about getting customers, the final unit, another 5 episodes or so, will be called the new customer relationship. So in other words, what to do once you actually earn a customer or customers. Now, I'm enjoying writing and producing this series, and I hope that you're enjoying it too. I hope that you're getting something out of it. And if you can think of anyone else who's starting their own business, share it with them if you think it would be helpful to them. I had to learn all this stuff by making thousands of mistakes, and maybe I can help you or someone else, shorten the cycle in your business so you don't have to make all those mistakes. So, all right, all the best to you. We'll see you next week. Thank you.